The stadium lights glowed brightly, and the tension in the air was almost tangible. As Yoshinobu Yamamoto took the mound for the fourth inning, fans already sensed something special was about to happen. He was locked in, eyes focused, jaw set, breathing steady. By that point in the game, Yamamoto had already demonstrated his signature control, painting the corners with precision and freezing batters with that devastating splitter. But no one expected what came next, a six-pitch inning that would send shockwaves through the baseball world. The first batter stepped in, tightening his gloves, trying to read Yamamoto's rhythm. Yamamoto nodded to his catcher, set his stance, and unleashed a fastball at 97 miles per hour, strike one. The batter blinked, almost surprised by the late movement. Without wasting a second, Yamamoto went right back to work. The second pitch, a splitter, dropped off the table and drew a weak swing, strike two. The third pitch came even quicker, a cutter inside. The batter made contact, but it was a slow grounder to shortstop. 1 out, only 3 pitches in. The crowd began to murmur, realizing how quickly things were unfolding. Yamamoto took a deep breath, his face calm, yet his body language screamed dominance. The second batter approached, perhaps more cautious, perhaps more nervous. Yamamoto opened with another fastball, right down the middle, strike one. The sound off the catcher's mitt echoed like a gunshot through the stadium. The next pitch came, a curveball that dipped right at the knees. Strike two. The batter stepped out of the box, shaking his head, knowing he was already in trouble. The third pitch, a splitter, perfectly placed, swung on and grounded to second. Routine play, 2 outs. Still, not even a minute had passed since the inning began. Fans started to rise, clapping rhythmically, sensing that something rare was unfolding before their eyes. The television cameras zoomed in on Yamamoto's expression, utterly composed, yet burning with quiet fire. The third batter stood in, adjusting his helmet, trying to slow things down. He had seen Yamamoto before, but never this sharp, never this efficient. The first pitch came in, a slider for strike one. The batter didn't even flinch. Then came pitch two, a perfectly executed fastball right on the outer black. Strike two. The catcher barely moved his glove, it was surgical precision. Yamamoto was now at 5 pitches, 2 outs, and 2 strikes. The entire ballpark held its breath. Yamamoto wound up, his motion smooth and controlled, and fired his 6th pitch, a splitter that darted downward at the perfect moment. The batter swung through it helplessly. Strike three. The inning was over. Just 6 pitches. The crowd erupted. In an instant, Yamamoto walked calmly off the mound, almost expressionless, while his teammates clapped him on the back in disbelief. The commentators could barely contain their excitement. 6 pitches, 3 outs, and pure dominance. The replay cameras showed every pitch in slow motion, the spin rate, the precision, the balance in Yamamoto's form. It was art, not just sport. The control, the tempo, the confidence, all perfect. Fans watching at home were stunned. Social media lit up immediately with posts like, "Did Yamamoto just do that in 6 pitches?" And, "That's next-level efficiency." The clip began spreading across platforms within minutes. Pitching coaches around the world pointed to that inning as a masterclass in execution. Not just about speed, but about mindset, rhythm, and absolute command. Every pitch had purpose, every movement had intent. It wasn't just about the result, it was about how Yamamoto made it look effortless. His delivery never changed. His mechanics remained identical on every pitch, keeping hitters guessing and off balance. That kind of consistency is what separates elite pitchers from the rest. To throw only 6 pitches in an inning and retire 3 professional hitters. That's dominance in its purest form. Back in the dugout, Yamamoto sat quietly, towel over his shoulders, not celebrating, not boasting, just reflecting. That calm humility has always defined him. He doesn't chase moments like this, they just seem to happen because of his discipline. His catcher, visibly impressed, whispered something with a smile, perhaps acknowledging that what they just did was rare, even by professional standards. The opposing manager shook his head in disbelief, almost smiling. What can you even say? When a pitcher is that sharp, that in control, you simply have to tip your cap. Fans in the stadium stood, applauding as Yamamoto's stat line appeared on the scoreboard. The numbers were absurd. No hits, no walks, no wasted motion. 6 pitches, 3 outs, Commentators began comparing it to some of the most efficient innings ever recorded, legendary pitchers who once threw 9-pitch immaculate innings. But this, 6 pitches, that was something beyond rare. Even opposing players on the bench exchanged glances, quietly amazed. You could see respect in their eyes, that silent acknowledgement between professionals that they had just witnessed mastery. The 4th inning might have been brief, but it felt monumental. It encapsulated everything Yamamoto stands for: discipline, control, and a quiet but unshakable confidence. Later, during the post-game interview, Yamamoto was asked if he realized what he had just accomplished. He smiled slightly and replied, "I just focused on one pitch at a time." That answer, simple as it was, said everything. That's the mindset of greatness, never overwhelmed by the moment, never distracted by the numbers. Just focus, execute, repeat. Analysts later broke down the inning using high-speed cameras and data. The average release time, consistent within 0.01 seconds. The spin rate on the splitter, nearly identical to his previous outings. Nothing was rushed, nothing was forced. It was a perfect display of efficiency, the art of doing more with less. 6 pitches that told a story of mastery built over years of repetition and refinement. This inning reminded everyone that baseball isn't just about brute force, it's about precision, control, and strategy. Yamamoto turned the mound into a chessboard, moving pieces exactly where he wanted them. Even rival fans couldn't help but admire it. On social media, comments like, "That's respect. You can't teach that level of focus," flooded timelines. For young pitchers watching around the world, it was a blueprint. How to approach every inning with purpose. How to control tempo. How to trust your catcher and your instincts. The replay clips kept circulating, every angle, every slow motion detail, every sound of the ball hitting the glove. Fans began calling it the 6-pitch symphony. And that name stuck, because that's exactly what it was: a musical performance in motion, perfectly timed, perfectly balanced, perfectly Yamamoto. The next day, even opposing players were talking about it in interviews. "You don't see that often," one said. "He made it look easy. But it's not easy at all." Sports analysts on talk shows couldn't stop replaying it. They broke down his mechanics, his grip, his timing, every small detail that led to those 6 magical pitches. It became a teaching moment for the next generation, a viral clip destined to be replayed for years. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was flawless. Yamamoto's name trended across Japan and the United States simultaneously. Fans from both countries celebrated his brilliance, uniting across cultures in admiration for his talent. That inning became a metaphor, proof that perfection in sports doesn't always come from loud moments or flashy celebrations. Sometimes, it's the quiet, efficient mastery that leaves the deepest impression. Even days later, teammates were still talking about it. "He doesn't even realize how special that was," one said with a laugh. That's just who he is. As the season continued, that 6-pitch inning remained one of the highlights, a reminder of Yamamoto's unique blend of focus and skill. In an era where every detail is tracked, measured, and analyzed, Yamamoto reminded everyone that true greatness isn't just about data, it's about heart, rhythm, and control. And as fans replay that inning again and again, the sound of that final strike, the 6th pitch, still echoes in their ears. That thud of the ball hitting the mitt, followed by the crowd's eruption, is something no statistic can capture. That night, baseball wasn't just a game. It was poetry in motion. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto was its author.